back to English and IELTS Mastery Hub, the podcast dedicated to helping you deconstruct the challenges of the exam and achieve your desired band score. I'm your host, Alex, and today we're embarking on an in-depth exploration of the IELTS speaking test, moving beyond just Part 2 into the more abstract discussions of Part 3. Thrilled to be joined by the exceptionally articulate Zia, who will be our mock candidate today. Welcome to the show, Zia.
Thank you for the warm welcome, Alex. It's a genuine pleasure to be here. I'm looking forward to navigating the nuances of the speaking test with you.
Wonderful. So for our listeners, we'll run through 2 full topics. For each one, Zia will tackle a Part 2 cue card, and then we'll transition into a series of Part 3 follow-up questions to demonstrate how to develop your ideas and handle more complex discussion points. Ready to begin, Zia?
Absolutely. Let's get started.
All right. Your first cue card topic is about family. I would like you to describe a person in your family who you really admire. Remember, you'll have 1 minute to prepare your notes, and then you'll speak for 1 to 2 minutes.
Certainly. Without a shadow of a doubt, the family member who has been most instrumental in shaping my worldview and character is my maternal grandmother. She is, for all intents and purposes, the matriarch of our family, an indomitable spirit whose resilience has always been a source of profound inspiration for me. Physically, she's quite petite with the crown of silver hair she keeps impeccably styled, but her presence is substantial enough to fill any room she enters. However, what truly sets her apart is her unwavering optimism and her philosophical acceptance of life's vicissitudes. Having navigated numerous hardships throughout her 80 years, from economic instability to personal loss, she possesses an extraordinary capacity to find a silver lining in every conceivable situation. This perspective isn't just a personal trait, it's a philosophy she has meticulously instilled in all her children and grandchildren. We share a particularly strong rapport, and our weekly conversations have become a cornerstone of my routine. These are never superficial exchanges. They are invariably filled with her sagacious advice and captivating anecdotes from her youth. She serves as the repository of our family's history, and listening to her is akin to turning the pages of a living, breathing historical text. In essence, I admire her not just for her tenacity and strength, but for the boundless grace and wisdom with which she navigates her life, qualities I earnestly aspire to emulate in my own.
Thank you, Zia. That was an exceptionally well-articulated response, running for just under 2 minutes. Your use of vocabulary like indomitable spirit, vicissitudes, and sagacious advice was outstanding. Now, let's move on to some Part 3 questions related to this topic of family. In your country, how has the role of grandparents changed over the last couple of decades?
That's a very pertinent question. The transformation has been quite significant, I believe. Traditionally, grandparents were central figures within a multi-generational household, often assuming a primary caregiving role while parents were at work. They were the custodians of tradition and moral guidance.
Right, the traditional custodians.
Exactly. However, with societal shifts towards nuclear families and increased geographical mobility, that role has evolved. While many grandparents still provide substantial childcare support, their role has also become more emotional and recreationally focused. They might be the ones who take grandchildren on holidays or introduce them to hobbies. Furthermore, with increased life expectancy and better health care, many grandparents today lead very active lives of their own, so their involvement, while meaningful, is often balanced with their personal interests and social commitments, which is a departure from the all-encompassing role they might have played in the past.
That's an interesting analysis. Let's consider another aspect. To what extent should family members influence an individual's significant life decisions, such as their choice of career or partner?
This is a multifaceted issue with deep cultural roots. From my perspective, while the counsel of one's family is invaluable due to their experience and genuine concern for one's welfare, the final decision must ultimately rest with the individual. Family members can offer guidance and expose a person to different perspectives they might not have considered. For instance, in career choices, They might highlight practical considerations like financial stability, which an idealistic young person could overlook.
Practical considerations.
However, excessive influence can be detrimental, potentially stifling an individual's autonomy and leading to a life of unfulfillment. A person's career and life partner are profoundly personal choices that will dictate their daily happiness and sense of self-worth. Therefore, a healthy dynamic involves consultation and respectful listening, but not coercion or undue pressure. It's a delicate balance between respecting familial wisdom and honoring one's own aspirations.
Finally, let's talk about the structure of families. Do you think the trend of smaller family units is a positive or negative development for society?
That's a profoundly complex question, as it involves weighing individual benefits against potential societal drawbacks. On one hand, smaller family units, or nuclear families, can offer greater economic and personal freedom. Parents can often invest more resources, be it financial, emotional, or educational, per child, which can lead to better outcomes for those children in terms of academic achievement and personal development. There's also a compelling argument to be made for increased autonomy and mobility for the parents, allowing them to pursue career opportunities across geographical boundaries without the constraints that larger, multi-generational households might impose. This model certainly fosters greater independence and self-reliance among individuals, which are highly valued traits in modern capitalist societies. However, from a broader societal perspective, this trend could be viewed as having significant negative repercussions. The decline of the extended family network can lead to a sense of social fragmentation and profound isolation, particularly for the elderly, who are no longer integrated into the daily fabric of their children's and grandchildren's lives. This atomization of the family unit places a much greater burden on state-provided social services to care for an aging population, a challenge many developed nations are currently grappling with. Furthermore, the rich, informal transfer of knowledge, traditions, and values that occurs organically in larger family structures becomes diluted. Children may have far less exposure to the wisdom and invaluable life experience of their elders, which represents a significant loss for intergenerational cohesion and cultural continuity. It risks creating a society that is perhaps more individualistic and economically efficient, but ultimately less interconnected and supportive at its core.
A very balanced view. Excellent. Let's move on to your second topic for today. This cue card is about your daily routine. I would like you to describe your typical weekday.
Certainly. My typical weekday is a meticulously orchestrated affair, a framework I've developed to maximize productivity while consciously safeguarding time for personal well-being. My day invariably commences at the crack of dawn, usually around 6 a.m. I find that this nascent period of the day, with its inherent tranquility before the city stirs, is incredibly conducive to deep concentration and strategic thinking. After a brief 20-minute session of mindfulness meditation, which serves to center my thoughts, I allocate the subsequent 90 minutes to my most cognitively demanding tasks. At present, this block of time is monopolized by my dissertation research, as it requires my sharpest focus. Following this intense period of intellectual exertion, I have a nutritious breakfast and then commute to the university. My afternoons are generally a dynamic blend of attending lectures, participating in intellectually stimulating seminars, and collaborating with my peers on various group projects, which I find fosters a great sense of academic camaraderie. The evenings, however, are my sanctuary for unwinding and personal development. I make it a cardinal rule to disconnect from my academic responsibilities after 7 p.m. This time is usually filled with either a vigorous workout at the gym, which helps to dissipate any residual stress, or a long, contemplative walk through a nearby park. I invariably conclude my day by reading something entirely unrelated to my field of study, perhaps a historical novel or a collection of poetry. It's a habit that I find both profoundly relaxing and intellectually expansive. By around 10:30 p.m., I am winding down, preparing to replicate this structured yet fulfilling routine the following day.
Another masterclass, Saya. perfectly paced and rich with detail and advanced lexis, like meticulously orchestrated and intellectually expansive. Now, building on this, let's explore some related Part 3 themes. How important is it for people to achieve a balance between their work or studies and their personal lives?
I would argue it is not just important, it's absolutely paramount for long-term health and sustainable success. The concept of hustle culture, which glorifies perpetual work, is fundamentally flawed in my opinion. It leads to burnout, diminished mental well-being, and paradoxically, a decline in productivity over time.
So you see it as counterproductive.
Precisely. A well balanced life allows for crucial periods of rest and recovery, which are essential for cognitive function and creativity. Personal time, whether spent with loved ones, pursuing hobbies, or simply resting, replenishes the mental and emotional resources required to tackle professional challenges effectively. Neglecting one's personal life for professional gain is a myopic strategy that often results in strained relationships and a diminished sense of self, ultimately undermining the very success one is striving for.
That's a very clear position. Let me ask you this. Do you think modern technology has made people's daily routines more or less stressful?
It's a double edged sword, undoubtedly. On one hand, technology has introduced incredible efficiencies into our lives. Automation, instant communication, and access to information can streamline mundane tasks, theoretically freeing up time and reducing certain types of stress. For instance, online banking obviates the need to stand in a queue, which is a clear stress reducer.
Right.
Conversely, this same technology has blurred the boundaries between work and personal life, creating a culture of constant availability. The perpetual influx of emails and notifications on our smartphones can generate a persistent low-level anxiety. There's an implicit expectation to be always on, which prevents genuine mental disconnection. So, while technology has alleviated logistical stresses, it has arguably introduced a more pervasive psychological stress into our daily routines.
An excellent summary of the paradox. Zia, this has been an incredible session. Your ability to structure your thoughts, draw upon a wide lexical range, and discuss abstract concepts with such clarity is exactly what a Band 8 or 9 performance sounds like.
Thank you, Alex. The practice has been immensely helpful for me, and I hope it offers valuable insights for your listeners as well.
I have no doubt it will. And to our listeners, thank you for tuning in to the English and IELTS Mastery Hub. We hope this deep dive session has illuminated the path to a higher band score. For complete transcripts of today's episode, vocabulary lists, and more practice materials, please visit our website at IELTSMasteryHub.com. Be sure to subscribe to our podcast on whatever platform you're using so you never miss a lesson. Until next time, keep practicing and stay motivated.